the most terrifying woman of the Vietnam War. In the dense, suffocating shadows of Vietnam's steaming jungles, there existed a predator whose name was whispered with dread among American forces. They called her Apache, a moniker earned not just for her marksmanship, but for the chilling, barbaric acts she inflicted upon those she captured. She was, according to many, the most terrifying woman encountered in the entire Vietnam War. The morning mist often clung to Hill 55 like a shroud, obscuring the thick vegetation surrounding the Marine encampment. Despite being situated 8 miles from Da Nang, this elevated position, which should have offered security, had recently become a place where Marines slept with a gnawing tension. They had good reason for their fear. Someone was hunting them with calculated precision. Gunnery Sergeant Carlos Hathcock, a hardened Marine renowned for his skill, scanned the tree line, his concentration absolute. He received the grim news from Captain Edward Jim Land. Private Mendez was found at the perimeter with a single shot through the forehead. A clean kill from at least 600 yards. Hathcock recognized this wasn't standard Viet Cong operation. The patience and flawless accuracy carried a distinct, terrifying signature. For weeks, the Marines had been unnerved by reports regarding this sniper. Intelligence suggested she was of mixed Vietnamese and French ancestry. She had earned the nickname Apache, not solely for her remarkable shooting skills, but for the horrific acts inflicted upon those unfortunate enough to be taken alive. The men of the 1st Marine Division's 5th Regiment held a particular dread of the area around Duc Pho. Reports had initially filtered in from South Vietnamese troops concerning a female Viet Cong operative who took great satisfaction in torture. The stories seemed too horrific to believe until bodies began appearing, mutilated in ways that horribly confirmed the worst rumors. Captain Land revealed that command had designated her a priority target. Land indicated that Apache was known for collecting gruesome trophies, specifically the eyelids of her victims. This detail caused Hathcock's jaw to tighten. The psychological impact of such sadism was profound. Land confirmed she operated using a Russian-made Mosin Nagant rifle chambered in 7.62 millimeter, equipped with a scope. Hathcock acknowledged it was a good rifle, but quickly added, "Not as good as mine." The younger Marines watched Hathcock with a desperate mixture of hope and fear. They needed to believe he might be the only man capable of ending the reign of terror Apache had. Imposed upon Hill 55. She had transcended the status of a combatant, becoming a destructive psychological weapon that was steadily breaking the unit's morale. Inside the command post, Lieutenant Colonel Davidson, his eyes strained from sleepless nights, revealed that a scout had just returned with critical information. A South Vietnamese ranger presented grainy black and white photographs taken near a village 3 clicks east. These reconnaissance photos showed a small Viet Cong group. In one image, partially obscured by foliage, stood a slight figure carrying a rifle with a distinct scope. The woman whose features confirmed her mixed Vietnamese and French heritage. "That's her! Apache!" Land confirmed. Hathcock studied the image, noting her small stature, estimating she couldn't weigh more than 100 pounds. Davidson warned that this small appearance made her easy to underestimate, which was precisely what made her one of the most terrifying operators in the war. The scout, speaking halting English, explained that her camp moved frequently, every 2 or 3 days, indicating that she was extremely careful and intelligent. The scout also noted that she was not like other VC fighters. Even her own comrades feared her. She enjoyed inflicting pain, the scout specified, not for information, only for pleasure. This confirmation of deliberate sadism created a heavy silence in the room. Davidson provided Hathcock with a dossier confirming she was born in Hanoi, her father a French colonial administrator, her mother Vietnamese. She had joined the Viet Cong early on, distinguishing herself quickly as both a highly skilled marksman and an interrogator. She was 31 years old and directly responsible for at least 27 confirmed kills within that sector alone. Witness testimonies from captured Viet Cong solidified the horrifying picture, confirming she had earned her fearsome reputation even among her own comrades. Intelligence suggested that Apache had lost family members during an operation near Da Nang the previous year, victims of civilian casualties. Since that tragedy, she had focused her murderous attention almost exclusively on American forces, particularly the 5th Regiment. Land observed that she was escalating, becoming bolder. Davidson made the mission clear. This isn't just about eliminating an enemy sniper anymore. It's about stopping the most terrifying woman in this theater before she breaks this unit's fighting spirit. Hathcock closed the folder, his expression set. Land pointed out the optimal positions on the map, high ground offering coverage of the most likely transit corridors. The scout contributed, pointing out a valley between 2 ridgelines that Apache favored for its good water supply and numerous caves. The weight of the assignment settled heavily on Hathcock. The hunt was now a necessary psychological operation. Land murmured quietly, "These boys need a win. They need to believe they're not helpless." Hathcock checked his Winchester Model 70 rifle, its familiar weight a source of reassurance, and replied, "Then let's give them one." For the next 3 days, Hathcock and Land established a grueling routine. They moved to their observation post before dawn, remaining motionless and vigilant for 18 hours at a stretch. Hathcock's legendary patience proved invaluable. He could remain perfectly still longer than most men could stay awake. On the 4th day, they spotted movement, a small patrol advancing along a stream bed. Hathcock counted 5 figures, but none matched Apache's description. Land determined they were spotters, sent ahead to secure the route. The answer to when she would follow came that night in a horrific fashion. Just after midnight, agonizing screams echoed across the valley, clearly audible within the Marine encampment. Land instantly knew the meaning. "She's sending a message," he said, his voice tight with rising anger. Throughout the night, the screams continued, punctuated by moments of silence that somehow felt even more horrifying. Every Marine on watch knew precisely what was happening. Apache had captured one of their own and was demonstrating why she was the most terrifying woman in the war. Hathcock demanded the lieutenant check the roster. Private Johnson was missing. He had been on perimeter patrol with Private Ramirez, who returned with a graze wound, reporting they were ambushed. Hathcock and Land exchanged glances. Apache had intentionally left Ramirez alive, ensuring he returned and spread the news of Johnson's capture. The psychological warfare was executed with the same calculation as her marksmanship. Land cautioned against rushing out blind, explaining that an emotional response was exactly what she wanted. A young corporal challenged them, asking if they were just going to listen to him die. Hathcock placed a firm, steady hand on the corporal's shoulder. "We listen, we learn, and we make sure she pays for it. But we do it smart." Dawn brought an eerie silence. As Hathcock and Land prepared a patrol, a sentry's shout drew them to the eastern perimeter. A figure, staggering and covered in blood, emerged from the jungle. Hathcock ran toward the wounded Marine who collapsed just yards away. What had been done to the young private defied comprehension. Mercifully, his eyes were closed in death. But a final cruelty had been inflicted. The lids remained intact, suggesting he was aware until the very end. Hathcock knelt beside the body, a cold, implacable resolve settling deep inside his chest. "This wasn't war," he said. "This was sadism, elevated to an art form." Back at the command post, Davidson observed that Apache was playing with us, daring them to come after her. Land agreed, noting she likely had an ambush position set up, anticipating a company-sized response. Hathcock traced a finger across the map. "So we don't give her what she expects. Just the 2 of us, moving light and fast." Davidson gave them a tight deadline, 12 hours. Hathcock and Land departed within the hour, carrying only essential gear. They used no radios that could betray their position. Hathcock led the way, expertly following the slight blood trail that Johnson had left as Apache's group dragged him back to their location. By midday, they had covered nearly 4 kilometers in complete silence. Land whispered that the enemy was getting sloppy, pointing to discarded cigarette butts near a resting place. Hathcock nodded, realizing they believed they had successfully broken the Marines' will to pursue and made them afraid. As the afternoon shadows lengthened, the trail began leading upward toward a ridgeline. Land froze, breathing a warning, "Movement!" Through his binoculars, Hathcock spotted 5 figures moving along the ridge, approximately 700 yards away. 5 women, one of whom had an unmistakable profile even at that distance. The group paused near a rocky outcropping. The distinctive woman gestured, apparently issuing instructions. "That's her!" Hathcock whispered, lowering his binoculars and raising his rifle. Land quickly calculated the distance, wind speed, and the elevation. "Wait!" Land cautioned as the group began to shift position. Apache stepped away from her companions, moving toward a cluster of bushes, slinging her rifle over her shoulder. She squatted slightly. "She's taking a piss," Land observed. "Perfect! She's separated from the group." This was the critical moment. Apache, the most terrifying woman of the Vietnam War, was momentarily isolated and vulnerable. Hathcock drew a slow, controlled breath, then gradually exhaled, squeezing the trigger at the precise moment between heartbeats. The sharp report of the Winchester shattered the jungle's quiet. Through his scope, Hathcock watched Apache stumble backward, clutching her chest. "Hit," he confirmed. Her companions instantly scattered, diving for cover. Hathcock chambered another round without shifting his gaze. The second shot caught Apache as she desperately attempted to crawl toward cover. Her body convulsed once, then lay still, face upturned toward the darkening sky. Land immediately called in artillery coordinates on the remaining Viet Cong fighters. Within minutes, the ridgeline erupted in explosions, eliminating any possibility of retaliation or escape. When the barrage ended, an eerie silence settled over the jungle. Hathcock and Land cautiously approached the position, rifles ready. Hathcock's attention was fixed solely on the small figure lying apart from the others. Apache lay as she had fallen, her eyes open but unseeing. In death, she appeared almost ordinary. "It's done," Hathcock stated simply. As Hathcock and Land returned to base with confirmation of Apache's death, the Marines of Hill 55 felt a collective, enormous weight lift from their shoulders. The most terrifying woman of the Vietnam War had finally been silenced, though the psychological scars she inflicted upon the men would undoubtedly linger far longer than any physical wounds.